Hello, welcome back. Some madness from Libs of TikTok, episode 5. You know what to do. Let's go.
Before we get started, real quick, I just want to say make sure you hit the like button. It helps support the channel, and it's 100% free.
There you go.
As well as hitting the subscribe button. We're getting close to 2,000 subscribers, and I think we may be able to hit it before the end of this year. So make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on all notifications. Like I said, it helps support the channel. It helps grow the channel.
Mm-hmm.
It helps push out this content to more people, and it's 100% free. Doesn't cost you a thing. You can also leave a comment down below telling me what you thought about this video. If you want to see more of these videos and whatnot, just leave it down below. It's 100% free. And as always, make sure you check out Libs of TikTok on Twitter.
That was Big Nick, the legend himself.
So this Kyle Rittenhouse trial, it reminded a lot of people of something, I just can't remember what it was. Oh, the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, in which Brett Kavanaugh, who had been accused by a high school friend of committing sexual abuse of her, cried his way through the hearings to make him a permanent member and Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. And his tears turned out to be more powerful than the tears of Christine Blasey Ford, which were the tears of an alleged victim. But in America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, Green Waterworks. White men can get away with that too. And it has the same effect. Even as the right tries to politicize the idea that masculinity is being robbed from American men by multiculturalism and wokeism, they still want to be able to have their tears. So my friend Jahan Jones, who writes the brilliant The Readout blog, wrote a great piece about this. And if you want to read it, you're going to be able to read it right here.
So white people's tears are discounted. See, this is crazy. So all these crazy leftists, I'm left, by the way. I made my fiancée take a political compass test yesterday because she was watching this program on the television that was really, really leftist, like really, really far left, just spouting all this garbage about women footballers deserve equal pay even though they don't make equal amounts of money. You get equal pay if you make equal amounts of money. Male strippers get paid less than female strippers. Female porn stars get paid much more than male porn stars. A lot of male porn stars that are straight do gay porn because they get paid more. That's because the women make more money because their DVDs, their website subscriptions, they sell more. That is literally the reason. So why should women footballers get paid more? Like, male ballerinas don't get paid as much as female ballerinas because there's more female ballerinas and the better. People are more prone to see those shows. But anyway, so if it's all about your feelings and how you feel, and your tears and your emotions and all this stuff, but then it's not about how we feel. So only your feelings matter. So if I was to say something and it was to make a black person cry, then that's me being like horrible, and I could say anything. I could be like racist, I could be sexist, I could be ableist, I could mock them for a disability, but I could do anything to make them cry. And if I make them cry, their emotions are genuinely on display there. So they're crying because they're experiencing emotional turmoil, and that emotional turmoil has led to the tears. So their tears are legitimate. But if a white person experiences the same thing, those tears are weapons. Those tears are being used. So our emotions aren't real. White people don't have feelings. There's a race war coming up over in America. You guys are mad. You guys are mad, honestly. I can't believe you can make statements like white tears and white fragility and white guilt. How do you not see that that's racist? If I were to say black tears, black fragility and black guilt, you'd label me a bigot. It's madness. Whew. Take a breath over there, guys. You need some Jesus.
I don't mean to like alarm anybody or try to fearmonger, but hear me out. My fellow POC in America, we need to hope and pray to whatever God, arbitrary figure in the sky you believe in, whatever, that Kyle Rittenhouse goes to jail. Think about it. When you listen to a lot of like the shit that the right says on like forums, message boards, behind closed doors, it is very clear that they have like murder fantasies, and that they dream of the day in which a left-wing person will give them the means or the excuse to kill them. Like we've seen the video that circled around of the guy asking Charlie Kirk, when do we get to kill people? When do we get to use the guns? Like Kyle Rittenhouse is going to inspire a shit ton of conservatives and just general white supremacists to open fire on peaceful protesters and just kill people of color because of white genocide. Like, I'm legit scared, y'all. I'm legit scared.
You should be, because you live in America and that is happening in your fucking country. And I am a humble Britishman from across the pond, and I know more about this situation than you do, right? So let's break down some of the buzzwords that you used. One, right, you said that he shot people of colour, and two, you said they were peaceful protesters, right? I'm not sure if you've seen any of the footage of young Kyle that night, but he was getting chased and beaten with skateboards and stuff. So he shot people. He blew a man's bicep off because the guy had a pistol in his hand. He was going to shoot him, so Kyle shot him. Serves him right. And all three people that Kyle shot at and murdered, apparently, were white people. So you don't even know what you're talking about. You're parroting points that you've seen before with no proof for these points. You're mimicking something. You're not wholeheartedly believing it, right? And you're a racist piece of shit because you want a white man locked up for killing black people when he didn't even kill black people. That's purely race motivated, because now that he's killed white people, you're not going to be able to hold the same point. You can't hold the same point. He needs locking up for killing black people, because you're not going to say he needs locking up for killing white people, because through the monologue that you've just delivered, there's a slight contempt for white people. I've got a really good racism detector, and you don't like white folks. The way that you speak about us. Do you know what I mean? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And you're trying to... I often find that the further left somebody is and the more liberal and the more tolerant they are, the more racist and fascist they actually are. So you're really liberal and you're really tolerant, but I'm not allowed to use my opinions and my tears are weapons and stuff. But you're accepting. And you're the accepting people, but your tears are fine. We accept your tears, you don't accept ours, but you're the accepting ones. Yeah, madness. He didn't kill any black people. He didn't kill any people of colour. He didn't kill any people of colour. The three people that he shot were white people. I'm sure one of them was a sex offender. So, are you going to defend a sex offender? Being a peaceful protester? Trying to attack a young man? Was he a peaceful protester? Chasing him around the car? Was he peaceful? No, he wasn't, was he? So, get your facts right before you formulate an opinion. Because if you formulate an opinion on feelings, chances are you're going to be wrong.
I am here to present Kyle Rittenhouse for the Emmy for worst fake crime. Mazel tov. Kyle, you did it! Your performance on the stand, Kyle. I mean, I was so not moved.
Back to the tears.
You know, the crying classes that you took. And then what happened was, this guy came and he was like, but then no, you're a white male with a fucking gun taking the law into his own hand. White entitlement, yeah, fuck you, Kyle. Like, you don't even get a flush. I'm not wasting water on you.
McClass? Fucking hell, see, so if I slapped her, I'm not going to, this isn't a call for violence, but if I slapped her, right, and she started to cry, her tears would be valid because I'm a white man. Right? Follow me, this is their logic. If I slap her and she cries, her tears are valid as a white woman. She's not being a Karen. Her tears are valid because I, the white man, slapped her. So her tears are valid, right? But if a black trans person slapped her, she would then be called a Karen and her tears would be invalidated. So cancel culture is all well and good until they come for you. It's happened to many people. It's happened to many people. It's just happened to Beyonce. Beyonce's been one of these crazy feminists that's been trying to push this agenda, and now she used the word spaz, and everybody loses the shit. And people in Britain are kicking off about this as well. It doesn't make a lot of sense, you see, because in America, you guys don't use the word spaz as shorthand for spastic, which is what people in England use it for. The word spaz in England is like a horrible term that you'd use to describe somebody who's disabled. So if somebody's got like cerebral palsy or MS, somebody could call them a spaz in a malicious way. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how it's used over here. But in America, it doesn't mean that. Spaz is short for spasm, from what I understand. And in your culture, if somebody says to spaz out, it means like to just lose your shit. Like, he spazzed out, he was going mental, he was going crazy. That's how we understand it. And people over here are going, they shouldn't be saying it. It's so foul, I can't believe they use it. Not even understanding the cultural difference between the two words. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I can't get over it. I can't go. And that woman there, she was like she looked like she was in her 40s. She was completely unhinged. She was mocking a teenage lad who's had to take lives to defend himself, being put in front of the entire nation on trial, right, with everybody mocking him, so that he can prove that he did what he needed to do in self-defense. And now he can't even use his genuine emotions, because if he tried to use his genuine emotions, people are just going to say that he's using his white tears. It's racist shit,
are up
man.
in Kenosha supporting Kyle Rittenhouse at his trial. And if that name didn't ring a bell, it's these two assholes who gained notoriety in St. Louis after waving guns at peaceful protesters who walked past their house. Which, by the way, if you're ever wondering what happened to them, the asshole Missouri governor pardoned them.
Because they didn't.
But all I'm going to say is, if the McCloskeys are on your side, you're on the wrong fucking side. Rittenhouse is guilty as fuck.
What?
Oh, that aged well, didn't it? Sitting here in 2022 when he sat there suing people. But yeah, those two people. I love that they try and use the disclaimer of peaceful protesters, right? They were on their property. They weren't at that point. I admit what he said could have been true, but it wasn't perpetually true for the entire scenario. So yes, they might have been peaceful protesters until the very moment they stepped upon their property. At that point, they become trespassers. Do they not? Do you not understand your own legal system? If somebody walks onto your property without invitation, them being there is unlawful. It's called a trespass. It's even in the Bible. Do you want me to get the verse out for you? It used to be in the Lord's Prayer. Well, it is in the Lord's Prayer. It replaced debtors. It used to be forgive us our debtors as we forgive those who hold debts against us, but now it's trespasses. It's literally in the Lord's Prayer. You should understand what trespass means. And they were trespassing on their property. So there was two people in their home, and then they look out their window, and there's 40, 50 people on the lawn. Yeah. Because if that happened to me in the UK, I'd be going outside with a baseball bat, because we're not allowed. Like, our weapon laws are mad. We can't even buy knuckle dusters. I've just moved into this lovely new house, and if I was looking for a new self-defense weapon, and I thought, right, well, I don't want a baseball bat. You can't really swing a baseball bat in the house. I'll get some knuckle dusters, because then I can just box and jab and just fight like I normally would. Turns out they're illegal over here. I didn't even know that. The only thing that you can get over here that resembles a knuckle duster is a mug that's got a knuckle duster for the handle or a little keychain. That's it. That's all Amazon will ship to the UK. So if 40 people came to my house and there were peaceful protesters and they walked outside, I'd be going outside with a bat saying, what the hell are you doing in my garden? And the reason I'd take the bat is because there was more than one of them. If it was one man, I'd go out and say, excuse me, my friend, you're trespassing. But when 40 of them rock up, it's a bit of a different scenario, isn't it? It's crazy. It's crazy to think that people act like this. And if you're on their side, you're on the wrong side. Okay, I'm on the wrong side. I'm glad you think that, because that vindicates my belief that I'm on the right side.
White people have not earned and should not have the privilege of adopting children of color, specifically black children. And they have yet to do anything to this day to earn that privilege of adopting black children. They should not be allowed to. But like, what is a man?
So, that was some racist shit. So let's take this shoe. Put it on the other foot. Black people haven't got the right to adopt white babies. That's what she's just said. She's just said that black people shouldn't be able to adopt white babies. If she didn't say that, she's a hypocrite. Because she's just said that white people shouldn't have black babies. So conversely, it should go the other way. So if I was to say that white people shouldn't get black people shouldn't have white babies, they shouldn't be able to adopt white babies, that's me being racist. That's me saying that race of people should be treated differently based on an immutable characteristic that they have zero control over. That's what I'm saying. If you take all of the garbled mess, all of the word salad that they use, and boil it down to an actual functional statement that makes sense, right? White people do not have and have not earned the privilege of adopting a black baby means white people shouldn't be able to have black babies, right? And that means that you're categorizing an entire group of people based on something they can't control. That, my friend, that is a perfect example of racism. That's what that is. A perfect example of it. It's amazing that they think that because they're black, they can't be racist. That's what they wholeheartedly believe. Like, a lot of them think this. A lot of them think that their skin color gives them a shield. But the club fits in both hands. So you need to be expecting a whooping back. Like, if you're going to come at me saying that white people shouldn't be able to have black babies, I can make the same statement to you and you can't complain. This is the problem with your culture. It's all well and good until it comes back for you. It's all well and good until then. When it comes back for you, then shit hits the fan.
Not be allowed to. But like, what is a man? Go ahead, I'll give you a second to define it, because I hate to...
An adult human male. That's what a man is. Human males go through various stages. The first stage is we are female inside the womb. That's why we've got nipples, because we're female, right? Then we become male inside the womb. We are then prepubescent boys, meaning boys that have not experienced puberty. We then hit puberty anywhere between 8 and 12. Some people obviously outside of the bell curve will be examples, but I'm talking about the middle of the bell curve. If you don't like that bell curve, you can leave right now. I've told you this before. Take your 5% argument and shove it somewhere nice and tight, because it doesn't make a difference, right? So in the bell curve, we go from a little female in the womb to a little male in the womb. Then we're a little boy, prepubescent. Then we're pubescent, and we're going through puberty. Then we're young men, adolescents, because our brain hasn't fully developed yet until we're about 25, 27, give or take. Then we're men. And then you're a middle-aged man from 30 to like 50. And then you're an old man from like 50 to 70. And then you're a very old man from like 70 up. And then you're fucking ancient if you make it above 100. You're a relic if you make it past 110. Right? That's what a man is. There's the time I needed to define it. Now you're going to say some nonsense.
To break it to you, but there's not one specific characteristic or physical feature that is unique to men.
Apart from the chromosomes, women don't have those.
And no, I'm not talking about biological males for the people who are dense in the brain. Men. Let me guess, your description of men is someone who's strong and dominant and a leader. Yeah, that can describe literally anybody. Anyone can be those things. Probably also said, oh, someone who has a pee-pee and no tatas. Yeah, pee-pee doesn't equal man and tatas doesn't equal not man. So there is no universal way to describe men. Unless you're a Republican like this girl who views the world in such an archaic, patriarchal, misogynistic ass way, where their definition of what man is supposed to be is like extremely rigid. But like actually think about it, really reflect on it on your own. Try your best to find a non-transphobic, non-misogynistic way to describe men, whether it be physical features, characteristics, whatever. You said let men be men, right? But what is a man?
You're being so disingenuous by asking me. You can't ask me a question and then say don't answer it using this or this, right? So if you want me to answer to you now what a man is without being transphobic, you will be able to mould any fucking answer I give into being transphobic, right? So the answer I just gave you about what a man is, right? That explains what a man is through every stage of his life. A man is an adult male, right? And that you're a boy and then you become a man. Right? A woman cannot be a man and a man cannot be a woman. I don't care if you think that's transphobic or not. It's biologically impossible, right? If you want to try and use some weird fucking societal term for it, if you want to try and say that it's a trans woman and we should accept them, that's a societal thing, right? And society sometimes has things that not everybody else agrees with, right? You don't agree with the fact, if you're gay, you don't agree with the fact that there's straight people out there. You don't agree with it. You accept it. Like you're fine with it, you understand it, but you don't accept it, because to accept it is to engage in it. Like, I do not accept homosexuality. I understand it, but I don't accept it as a form of practice that I do myself. I understand religion, but I don't accept it. I don't accept Christianity or Judaism or Islam. I don't accept it, because if I accepted it, I'd be living that principle, wouldn't I? Do you know what I mean? So what's happened here is we've got objective reality, which is demonstrable and verifiable, that you can use like scientific methods to get to conclusions, right? You can use scientific methods to get to conclusions, right? Or you've got your view of reality, like you've just tried to throw all these buzzwords. So you tried to claim that it was archaic. Why is that a bad thing? Our language is archaic. We use words from Latin. The word sinister is left in Latin, and we still use that word. So should we not use sinister anymore because it's an archaic term meaning left? Well, no, that's just because it's archaic doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing, right? And like things like, so the Parthenon in Greece, because it's an archaic building, we should just flatten it. The Colosseum needs to be wiped out. The Eiffel Tower might as well be getting wiped out now because it's archaic and it's old. It's pointless. We don't need it anymore. You're trying to form and manipulate your entire worldview and force it on everybody else. You're trying to ask me what a man is and then give me constraints on how I can answer it. Okay, then, how about a man is somebody, right, who's got the XY chromosome? How about that? Because now you're going to say, oh, but that's so rigid and that's so thing. So what if I say he's got an XY chromosome and he makes it to maturity? Oh, but that's so rigid, and you've given me a question that I can't answer because you've deliberately formed it in such a way that you don't want to hear my point. You're not asking a question. That was rhetorical. You're making a statement by trying to make us look foolish. But at the end of the day, in 50 years' time, like we look back now at lobotomies, and we look back now at like the men who stared at goats and all these crazy things that we used to do, right? And there's even studies that have like the studies that the US government tried to do. I can't remember where exactly it was. It was in the Mississippi. This is institutional racism, by the way. If you're looking for an example of it, this is one of them. They went down to, it was somewhere in the Mississippi, and it was a predominantly black area, and they deliberately went down there and injected black people like there were former like slaves, there were like slave families, like descendants of slaves, like African Americans, and they went and they injected them deliberately with a disease or a virus. I can't remember what it was. It might have been syphilis. Deliberately injected them with it, and they claimed to those people that they were receiving the injection that it was for bad blood. And then they came back and they were seeing what the effect of syphilis would have on this community. That's institutional racism, because they deliberately picked a load of black people to do it. But we used to do that shit, and the government at the time thought it was okay. Right? And now we look back and we think, Jesus Christ, what the fuck were you thinking? That's what you guys are right now. All this crazy stuff about the trans and trying to change all the kids and stuff, right? You guys, in 50 years' time, when people are writing history books, you're the villain of this decade. You guys are the villains of this decade. If you take your own personal bias out for a second, and I'll describe what you're doing without using specific terms. You are deliberately trying to subvert culture, and you are doing it by manipulating children into your crazy ideology. That's what you're doing, right? I've just described the Nazi Party and you in the same statement. What about Mao Zedong? He did the same thing. You're trying to manipulate and coerce society and mold it in a form that you believe is the right one. Right? And you're doing it by attacking children. Why? If you watch footage of China now, you should see what the kids at the school do. They all stand up and they all start singing. It looks like the Fourth Reich, right? That's how people indoctrinate people. You get them while they're young. You get them before they can critically think. Because I've only been able to critically think for a decade. The first 20 years of my life, I was just a fucking idiot. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have any critical thinking skills. Even when I got to university, it was still a struggle to get through them. And you're deliberately aiming at children. You're deliberately aiming at the children. You know for a fine fact you're doing it. That's what this whole agenda is about. Because nobody that's 30 and above is confused about what a man is. It's only the kids. And you're sprouting all this shit, right, on TikTok, where children use it. Like Tom McDonald even says in one of his songs that you brainwash the kids through the music and the apps on the phones that they use. And that's what TikTok is. TikTok's runs by the CCP. The Chinese government is allowed to look through everything that you post on TikTok. They own all of your data that you post on TikTok. And in the Chinese, inside the Great Firewall of China, TikTok, you're not allowed, none of this shit in the Chinese TikTok. It's all educational stuff. Children aren't even allowed to use the internet between certain times, but they'll let us over here, they'll let the West use it because you think that Russia and China don't want to invade us and don't want to take over the world. And instead of making strong men, we're telling boys that men aren't even a real fucking thing. You're mad.
You asked this forever ago. I'm so sorry, but I'm so glad you asked, and I'm gonna answer it now. Nibbling is just a gender-neutral term for niece or nephew. So if your sibling's child is gender non-conforming or non-binary, nibbling's a great term for them. If you are referring to multiple nieces and nephews, nibblings is a way easier way to say that. I default to it now because it's just simpler.
Here's your ostinato.
Jesus Christ. I've just gone on a big spiel about how they're going for kids there, and like it's not even fucking her children. She's now trying to target a niece and nephew. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. It's always the kids. Now, I heard an interesting thing the other day, because I like to reflect. I like to work out why I've done things. I think it's a bit of my autism. I like to overthink. And I thought to myself, why the fuck am I enjoying making these videos? It's slightly sadistic, isn't it? I'm taking some pleasure in putting myself through this discomfort. And I thought, I've been trying to work out why. Why am I making these videos? Because something's making me do it. And I think the reason is because I'm sick of people sprouting this shit, and it's going to hurt children. I didn't have the best childhood. I know what it's like to suffer abuse. I know what it's like. And it ain't nice, and it fucks you up, and it's a burden that you'll carry for the rest of your life. Some therapists will never be able to unburden you with it. It's like a millstone around your neck. If you get that phrase, you might need to be older to get that. But yeah, and I think the reason that I'm making these videos is for love of the children. Because I saw somebody say the other day that if you are, like, a good way to identify an extremist, either right or left, a good way to identify them is the process and the objective of which they go through and are trying to obtain. So the process that I'm going through is me putting myself in the situation where I'm dealing with these crazy people that are trying to sprout this shit at children, right? And I'm doing that because I want to protect the children. Because I don't think anybody should be coerced by anybody until they're 25. I don't even think your parents should give you your politics. I think you should learn your politics from the world that you live in and just become who you are. Because my politics don't align with my parents. So a good way to spot an extremist is if they do it out of hate. So the Nazis weren't trying to clean the planet of the Jews and the gypsies and the fucking cripples and all these people. They weren't trying to clean the planet. because they were trying to save the planet. They were doing it because they hated the Jews. It was done out of hatred. It wasn't done out of love for something. It was done out of hatred of something. And if your motives come from hatred, you are an extremist, because you're not trying to maintain or preserve or fix anything. You're only trying to destroy. That's all you're doing. So I think the reason that I'm here is to try and stop this shit going on. If you've got kids and you think that it's okay to say this to your kids, if I stop one parent saying something stupid to their child, if I stop one child being abused, mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to keep putting myself through it. It's fucking painful to do, but someone has to do it. Someone has to do it. And if I'm going to keep sprouting up and voicing these opinions like this, I want you guys to support me. We need to make a difference here. There's too many kids that are going to be fucked, because it's well and good living for today, but these kids are going to be messed up in 2035. There's 7-year-olds now that are getting told that they're non-binary and gender's not a thing, and they could end up removing their sexual organs before they even hit maturity, and then they're not having kids. Chances are they're going to commit suicide when they realise what's happened to them. It's going to fuck them up so bad. It's crazy. It really is. There's even Sydney Watson, a young lady from Australia. I think she lives in America now. She did a video on the harrowing story of this. They had twin boys, and one of them had an accident or something with his penis, and the doctor said that it'd be easier to just make a vagina. This was like in the 50s and 60s. It was years ago. The doctor said it'll probably be easier to just make what's left into a vagina and tell the little boy that he's a little girl. His entire life was plagued with problems because he didn't feel right, and he ended up killing himself because of what other people had told him that he was. He never got to genuinely experience life because he'd been moulded into something that he never got a chance to form. Do you know what I mean? You can make watermelons cubes if you grow them in the right environment, right? It's still a watermelon, but it's far from natural.
Oh, terrorist, purple for parents are. Terrorist, purple for parents are. While some had good intentions, they all were misinformed. Now threatening violence, doxing teachers has become the norm. They come to school board meetings with lots of things to say, and they will bully, cuss, or scream if they don't get their way.
I've been seeing...
Is she talking about the left there? Was that a Freudian slip? Was that a mask-off moment? They go to school board meetings and shout and scream if they don't get their way. They're terrorists. Oh, God. Freudian slip.
Some chatter on TikTok lately in various videos about the topic of trans kids and teens being out at school but not out at home. And the teachers know the chosen names and pronouns, but they are conflicted as to how they should address the trans students if they see them out in public with their parents. The popular consensus is just don't mention any names at all. No gendered language whatsoever. And I understand the whole idea of trans lives are more important than cis feelings. But we also have to remember that when there's a teacher who's trying to carry on a conversation with parents, but also respect the trans student, that creates more of a dynamic that is a little bit more uncomfortable for the teacher as well. And most of them want to do the right.
It is not a teacher's right, nor is it their prerogative, to inform a child about anything to do with their gender identity, as you guys like to call it. Gender identity, right, is a fancy word for feeling. You've got no right to tell somebody what they should and shouldn't be feeling. You've got no right to do that. And you've got no right to invalidate what somebody's feeling. The same shit we were talking about earlier with the white tees. You've got no right to do that. And the fact that you know that children are misguided, they literally need our guidance to become strong adults. If you chuck a kid in the woods, he'll become like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. He won't become a functioning member of society. He will adapt and conform to his environment. So if he's in an environment where gender doesn't mean a thing anymore, and coming out as trans is like the popular thing to do, he's going to do it. I don't see any goth kids anymore. I don't see any chavas. I don't see any boggers. I don't see any of these little subgroups that we used to have. I don't see any of them anymore. Now there's just normal kids and then kids that are part of this LG. Like, that's the thing. It's such a massive umbrella term that they're all just in there clustering together. Why are 10-year-olds thinking that they're the opposite gender? Because I wasn't thinking that, and none of the other people that I went to school with were thinking that, and there's like no other kids anywhere else in the world that are thinking that. There's no kids in like South Sudan or like Libya. Like, there's no trans people over there, because if it was a natural thing, It would be occurring like Down syndrome or Parkinson's disease. It's a naturally occurring thing across all of the human species. So you'd expect to see it everywhere, but you don't. You only see it in the West. And the more crazy and liberal the left country is, the more you see it. So you tell me that it's a human thing, or you tell me that it's a societal thing. Why do you think they like to say that it's all a societal construct? No, it's not. It's not a societal construct. We can't reform it. It's how humans have lived for eons.
I'm a cis woman with IBS, and I use the men's bathroom. And I've seen a lot of videos of trans men who are in public bathroom stalls with somebody in a stall next to them just farting and shitting and being gross. And there's some like iteration of like, oh no, I regret this. And it just makes me think about this time that I was in the Walmart bathroom just having a bad IBS episode in the men's bathroom. And I was the one just blowing it up. And it wasn't until much later that I noticed there was just a silent guy in the stall. After like 5 minutes of just me being disgusting, I hear like a little shift, and I'm like, and so every time I see those videos of trans guys talking about how gross men are in the bathroom, I never want to be invalidating, but I want to be like, what if it's a woman? It could be a woman. It could be me. What if it's me? It's me.
You see, that was based as fuck, because she said she's a cis woman. She knows she's a woman. She knows she's a woman. You see, this is what I don't have a problem with people that do that. I do not have a problem with people that do that. If she wants to look that way and she wants to do that way, she can. But at least she understands what reality is. At least she understands what reality is. And like, if you were disgusted by the way that men behave in the bathroom, that's another reason that you should believe that you're not a man, because men are fucking disgusting. Like, if you're a lady and you're watching this, you think you know how disgusting men are, but you don't. You really don't. Only men being around other men will know how disgusting men are. Like, I don't know any females. I'll give you a mild example. I know no females that would fart on their friend's head and find it funny, and find it more funny if they inhaled it. I don't know many people that are female that like to do that. It's men. Men are fucking disgusting, and we're violent. We're very, very violent. Like, if you get a group of young boys and say, right, we're going to have a stick fight, and you get a group of young girls and say, right, we're going to have a stick fight, the boys don't need the rules explained to them. The boys will just pick up the sticks and start hitting each other. If you tell a group of young boys that we're going to have a stick fight, you need to calm them down and tell them the rules first, because if you say we're going to have a stick fight, they'll just start hitting each other. We're violent. We're very violent creatures. It doesn't take as much to snap and twist and become very violent. Whereas for a woman, it takes a very long time to get angry. On average, in the bell curve, take your 5%, she'll be real tight.
So let me give you an example.
Oh, I can't hear you, darling. Sorry. Go back a bit.
And it could be me. What if it's me? It's me.
So let me give you an example. I have a colleague who's transgender, and there is a video of him as a toddler. So he was assigned female at birth. There's a video of him as a toddler tearing barrettes out of then her hair and throwing them on the ground and sobbing. That's a gender message. And when it happens not just once or twice or 3 times, that's a gender message. Sometimes kids between the age of 1 and 2 with beginning language will say, I boy, when you say girl. Those 2 words, I boy. That's not a pre-verbal, but an early verbal message. And sometimes there's the tendency to say, well, honey, no, you're a girl because little girls have vaginas and you have a vagina, so you're a girl. And then when they get a little older, you hear them say, did you not listen to me? I said, I am a boy with a vagina. Okay, but they can't say that between 1 and 2. But they can show you about what they want to play with, and if they feel uncomfortable about how you are responding to them and their gender, if you're misgendering them. So you look for those kinds of actions, like tearing a skirt off. There was one, I think this was in the Barbara Walters special, where this child wore the little onesies with snap-ups in between the legs, and at age 1 would unsnap them to make a dress and have the dress flow. This was a child who was assigned male. That's a communication, a pre-verbal communication.
So much for that question.
Oh God, there's a lot to unpack there. Right, so we'll go backwards. The last thing that she said there was the baby that unsnapped. The baby that unsnapped the thing at 1 year old. So that means that the baby understands. The baby completely, wholeheartedly understands female fashion. They understand at one intrinsically that a dress is for women and trousers are for men. They know this already, right? Anybody who's had children, anybody who's been around children knows that only 1 year olds. The only thing that a 1 year old knows is it's about to poo. It has pooed. It hurts when it poos. It's hungry or it's tired. That's all a 1 year old knows, right? So if we go back to the old analogy, when I was 8, well, now I was 10. Oh, what was that? 1999. I was 8. I'd turned 8 when I saw The Matrix for the first time, and I wanted to be Neo. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I wish I could, like, stop bullets and fly and lean back and do all that shit. And then I'd be the hero, and then I'd get the girl, so on and so forth. Like, I wanted to be Neo. So, my dog's seen the mailman. So I wanted to be Neo. Now, in her world, if a 1 year old is capable of doing this, they will do it to you later and they'll tell you again at the 8, well, didn't you listen to me? All this, right? So if at 8, I wanted to be Neo, and I'm correct, right? But an 8 year old has a better grasp than a 1 year old. So if a 1 year old knows, but they don't quite know because they don't know how to say it. But then when they get to 8, they know how to say it, right? So does that mean that I've always wanted to be like a Super Saiyan, like Neo, like flying Superman motherfucker? I've always wanted to be that. I just couldn't articulate it until I was 8. And now I'm an adult. I should still feel that way, right? But no, because I fucking grew up and learnt about reality, right? I learnt about reality, and some things you can't change. So if we go back even further after her saying that about the dress, a 1 year old doesn't understand fashion. An 8 year old doesn't understand fashion. If I showed you pictures of me from 8, 9 year old, whew, yeah. I think one of my new subscribers, give him a shout out, Blaze Goodbuds, wanted to defeat Duke Nukem. Do you know the game Duke Nukem, like Land of the Babes and all that? He wanted to beat Duke Nukem at 8. He wanted to beat that game. He wanted to do it. And he couldn't because he was 8. Do you know what I mean? But he still wanted it. So does that mean that he should have been intensively trained on how... So like if 8-year-old Goodbuds came to me and I was like, oh, hello there, Goodbuds. And I was like, he said, I want to be able to beat Duke Nukem. Does that mean I should stop everything that he's doing in his life? He pull him out of school and pull him out of like all of his... extracurricular activities, pull him out and put him in front of a Sega Master System and say, go on then, there you go, Goodbuds, you do that. Would that be a good thing to do for the child? No, it wouldn't. It'd probably be harmful to the child, wouldn't it? Yeah. And when she says that's like a gendered, like a thing that it's non-linguistic non-linguistic signs of what the child wants. Children want all sorts of crazy things that aren't good for them. That woman, I assume she's the woman. No, I just assumed the gender. That woman on the stage there, following her logic, you should do whatever your child says. So if you say to your child, what do you want for breakfast today, son? And he says, fish fingers and custard, you have to make him a bowl of fish fingers and custard. Where does that stop? What if they say arsenic? Are you going to give him a little bit of arsenic and a teaspoon and just watch him? Is that what you're going to do? No, you're going to say, well, that's not a good idea, Timmy. Let's give you some bananas instead. It's ridiculous. It really is. People just seem to have lost all sense of what's right and wrong. It's not even intelligence, because intelligence is nothing without morals. Because you can be like serial killers. Some of them are super intelligent, but they've got zero fucking morals, so they just murder people. Your morals are just as important as your intelligence. You can be as smart as you like, but if you're trying to turn children the opposite gender, or turn them into fucking walruses, like Matt Walsh's book, if you're going to try and turn Timmy into a walrus, you're unhinged. I don't care how smart you are, you're unhinged.
Question. I use the term minor attracted person or...
Oh my god. Ooh, I don't know how calm I'll be on this one.
...map in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And map advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term.
I'm sorry, I don't normally pause halfway through them. I normally let them go through, but this one, I'm breaking this one down fucking completely. If somebody does something, and we put them in a group because they've done something, rapists, murderers, child abusers, if we put them in a fucking group because they've done something, and they don't like the name, right, that means that they are ashamed of what they've done, and they know what they've done is wrong. Because if they knew what they did was wrong, they would wear that label with pride. When was the last time you saw a CEO going, don't call me that? When was the last time you caught fucking like a president of a country going, don't call me that? What are you calling me the president for? They wear those labels with fucking pride, right? They wear them with pride. So if you have got a label on you and that label has got a stigma attached, it's because you've done something shitty. That's what it is. So I'm not going to change the name to make you feel better. You need to change your fucking actions to lose the label. Nonce.
They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other
There you
terms
go.
like pedophile.
Yeah. Well, why should it be less stigmatizing? Why shouldn't we stigmatize people that fondle fucking children? Why shouldn't we do that? Why shouldn't we do that? I'm not going to voice my opinion on what we should do on here because I might get arrested for hate speech and that, but put it this way, I would not be tolerant of a nonce if I found one. I would not be tolerant of a nonce.
A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender.
Pedo, or pedo, is ancient Greek for child. Right? So a pediatrician is how you put things in things. Right? Like nutrition. A pediatrician is what a child eats, what a child takes, what a child does. So pediatrician, that's what that is, like a child doctor. Pediatrician, right? Philia is the ancient Greek word for love of, right? Delphi is the ancient Greek word for brother. So if you're American and you know the city of Philadelphia, that means brotherly love. That's what Philadelphia means. That's why it's called the city of brotherly love. In the same way that Los Angeles is the city of angels, the brotherly love Philadelphia, right? That's what it is, brotherly love. So philia is love and pedo is children, right? But the philia isn't just love, it's like I'm a technophile. I love technology. I've got a degree in web and multimedia. I work as a web developer. Like, that's what I do in between videos. I'm more like a web administrator. But I'm a technophile. I fucking love it. I love technology. If a solar flare came down, if a CME came down now, or a coronal mass ejection came and popped every transistor on the planet, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably go fucking mad, right? Because I'm a technophile. Because I love technology, right? And it's an irrational love. I like it more than the average person. Like, the amount of technology I have in my house is fucking insane, right? Because I love it. I find it really entertaining. I find it really fun. I love the process of like how it all works. I love the binary, and I love how all the systems can communicate. And like, yeah, that's why I like the internet. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought there. But anyway, back to the point of this. So the paedophilia, that's what I was talking about. The origin of the word. It means an irrational love of children. So if you're paedophilic, it means that you love children way more than you fucking should, and the love that you have for them is sometimes irrational, right? So it's okay to love children. You're meant to love children. If we didn't love children, they would die, because children are fucking useless until they're like 3. They can't do anything. All they do is cry, eat, shit and piss and sleep. That's it. And we need to feed them, and we need to look after them. They'll come out of the womb and the head is soft. You can kill an infant with your thumb. Do you know what I mean? That's how fragile they are. They're fucking useless. We're meant to love them, right? We need to love them, otherwise we would go extinct. So it's intrinsic in us to care for our children. But if you love them too much, say you love them with an organ that you shouldn't be loving them with, right? That's a bad thing. That's problematic. There should be a stigma attached to it. So the same logic that this guy's doing right now is we shouldn't call it bestiality. We should call it animal-attracted people. No, you're a sheep shagger. There's something wrong with you. Do you know what I mean?
And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction.
So the word paedophile, right, does exactly what you want it to do, right? You're trying to make the argument that the word paedophile has got stigma attached to it, and all you want the word to do is you just want the word to mean that they're attracted to something. Well, I've just given you the fucking semantics of how the language was formed around, and how the word was formed around language. Paedophilia, irrational love of children. That's what it means, right? So you can take your label and shove it real tight, because minor attracted person and paedophile mean the same thing. You're just trying to make it so that paedophiles don't look as bad. That's your agenda. You fucking nonce.
You see this person next to me? E is my friend. C has had to put up with a lot to get to where Per is today. I just want to let Glint know that Thon is valid, that verb pronouns are valid, and that Sarah identity is valid. I wish Void all the best, and look forward to maybe even seeing some of their lovely content someday. Please, treat them with respect, and I'm sure A will respect you too.
You're mentally unwell. You're mentally unwell. Like, this is like a child inventing their own language up. It's literally what it is. I've got two friends, right? These are the only two people that I know that have done it. The fucking weirdos. I'll give them a shout. One's called Josh and one's called Becca. They're brother and sister. That's all you're getting, but they know who they are. Josh and Becca, right? They invented this fucking language that they could speak to each other and none of us knew what they were saying. Like, none of us. And it almost sounded like, I don't know if you've seen Bill and Ben the Flower Pot Man, like flibberdob, blah, blah, blah. It was like shit like that. But they knew exactly what they were talking about. They would say things to each other and they would laugh. They would say things to each other and they would just look at each other and then walk to the place that they were just talking about, right? That was a valid language to them, right? Because both of them agreed on it, right? But that shit that you've just spouted there, nobody has a fucking clue what you're talking about, so you just look unwell. Peace.